Hare Krishna. Today we'll be covering second Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 9th chapter, shloka 4 till 18th, based on the teachings of Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. I'm seeking the blessings of Guru Gauranga and all assembled Vaishnavas to do this class, because I am the duck amongst the swans. Still, thank you for giving me this chance to give a Srimad Bhagavatam class. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udire nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. So the overall theme of today's class is about Lord Brahma initially being confused about what is supposed to do, how he's supposed to do in life, to the point then trying to search it on his own, and then hearing the Krishna mantra or his initiation, and then taking that order seriously and doing the tapasya, for 2+ million years by our standards, and then receiving the manifestation of Vaikuntha and darshan of the Lord. That is the overall concept today we are going to talk. Somebody's timing. So I discussed with Amrit and Prabhu, and we won't be covering Sanskrit because there are 14 shlokas. So we'll dive into the essence. So 294. O King, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma, and that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul. So Prabhupada in his purport covers 3 points. One is Atma Tattva. Atma Tattva. So Atma, Paramatma is also Atma, and the Jiva is also Atma, because both are transcendental in nature. But there are misconceptions about both in this world. So the misconception at a Jiva level is the Jiva ends up thinking that I am this body. So that is the misconception at a Jiva level. And at a Paramatma level, the misconception is they are both at equal level. The Jiva and the Paramatma are both at equal level. That's the misconception. Bhakti Yoga can clear both misconceptions. So just like when there is sunshine, you can see the sun and you can see the world. So in one stroke, both misconceptions are gone. Likewise, Bhakti Yoga can cover the misconceptions about what is a Jiva and what is a Paramatma. And overall, today's theme, you will see that again and again, Prabhupada stresses the point that Bhakti Yoga is the way, and Bhakti Yoga is the only way to get the highest perfection of human life. And we will see how he references so many places from Shastras. And once you take that instruction, you can receive a spiritual vision to get the darshan of the Lord, because the darshan of the Lord is not material, and hence we have to have a spiritual vision to achieve that, and that is possible through the penance, through bona fide Bhakti Yoga. And that is where in the shloka there is a word that says non-deceptive penance. It means you can waste lots of effort doing other things, but if you do Bhakti Yoga under guidance, then it is perfection of human life. So Srimad Bhagavatam 295. Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such a creative work, nor could he find out the process for such a creation. So he had this urge to create, but he was missing the method for doing that. He was confused about how he's going to do that. And that is where to seek the knowledge on the strengths of personal attempt, basically, if we try to do on our own, it is sheer waste of time. What Prabhupada says is, it is complete waste of time, because who is more powerful or more knowledgeable or smarter than Lord Brahma in this material world? And if he himself is confused about how to create the world, it is obvious that if we try to do so. Srimad Bhagavatam 296. While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby 2 syllables joined together. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsha alphabets. and both joined become the wealth of the renounced order of life. What is it? Tapa. And that word was pronounced twice. Brahma heard it twice. Um, Tapa or penance, Prabhupada says, is the purpose of human life. In case, if you survey the 7 billion people on this earth, ask them what is the purpose of life, they will say to become happy, right? But Prabhupada says Tapa or the penance is the purpose of human life. This penance is the beauty and wealth of Brahmanas. So effectively, when we take Brahmanical initiation, be aware that that is the only beauty we have. Self-realization or self-realization is the beauty, and sense gratification is not the business of human life. So that is quite contrary to what we learn in the schools, colleges, and everywhere else. By tapasya only one can get the profit of human life, and not by the polished civilization of animal life. So overall, today's class is a mini compact of the whole DYS class, because we cover all these points in the DYS class. While preparing for this class, what I learned was, okay, where is this all coming from? Right, in the purports, Prabhupada gives the whole DYS classes in this, the Discover Yourself or Science of Self-Realization. So the path of tapa is initiation. So when we say we want to take initiation, what we should be thinking and saying is, I'm willing to sacrifice few things in life. I'm willing to live a life of sacrifice, and that is the process of initiation. It is also called as upastranat or upanayana. And in Brahma Samhita, Brahma confirms his initiation, Govinda Adipurusham. He is completely surrendering to Govinda. So effectively, even Lord Brahma was initiated, and then he became Vaishnava. And how he did that? He received the Krishna mantra, the 18 syllable mantra, and then he accepted that, and that is how he became the Vaishnava. And then he did the penance or the tapa. In a very beautiful way, Prabhupada correlates Brahma's whole experience and our parampara and what we do in Hare Krishna. And it is very interesting to see that there is no difference. It's just that Brahma is at a level where he could receive the guidance of the Lord from inside, right? And we receive it through Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and through Guru Parampara. But effectively, the power, the facility is the same. To the point, actually, we'll see it is better than Lord Brahma in the sense that he did penance for like 2+ million years. And our life is pretty short, and we can achieve the same results in a very short period of time. So we follow the same principle because we belong to Brahma Sampradaya, directly in the disciplic chain of Brahma, and we know the whole parampara that brings us till Prabhupada and then our Guru Maharajas. One who is initiated in this succession is able to achieve the same results or the power of creation. So effectively, we have all the same facility available as Lord Brahma. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it was wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance, as he was instructed. So he tried to look around. When he heard tapa tapa, he tried to look around, he even tried to go to the bottom of the stem of the lotus. And when he couldn't figure out, then he realized that it is better to follow the instruction that is received. So Lord is in the heart of everyone as a super soul, and so is in heart of Brahma. And Lord can provide the guidance or initiation to anyone. Lord is available, willing, eager. The reason he gave it to Brahma was because Brahma was eager. And likewise, any soul, when the soul becomes eager to receive the initiation, Lord will provide it. So we get initiated. We don't get initiated so that we get some cool name and then we can wear dhoti. It is more about performing tapasya. It is a license to do the tapasya in a bona fide manner. And we are not at the level of Brahma. So Brahma received the initiation from within his heart. And if we say that, hey, even I don't need to surrender to a guru, or I don't need to do anything how you guys are doing, I will just receive the initiation in my heart and I will do my own things. And there are people who like to think that way. We need to understand we are not at the level of Brahma. So we cannot exactly do what he did. But we have the facility available. Same transcendental vibration, the Vedas are available through Bhagavad Gita, through Srimad Bhagavatam and bona fide Guru Parampara. Lord Brahma, so it's 298. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1000 years by the calculations of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus, he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus, he is known as the greatest of the ascetics. So, why it's perfect, we'll see soon. The tapasya went on for these many years. It's 2.1 million years. That is why Brahma is at the top ascetic. I mean, he could do that process for 2.1 million years. It's hard for many to even do for our remaining lifetime. Right? Uh, although Lord personally spoke to Brahma, and that is not true in the sense of we are not directly hearing Krishna speak. Krishna spoke to Arjuna, and through disciple succession, it is available to us. So here Prabhupada explains that Lord need not be present in front of you. If his vibration is present, it is equally powerful and it is equally transcendental. And that is where the difference between the Vapu and Vani. There is no difference between Vapu and Vani. Whether Prabhupada or Guru Maharaj or Krishna, they are not present personally, that doesn't mean that their instructions are not present. If we follow their instructions perfectly, we are good. For example, Harivilas Prabhu, His Grace Harivilas Prabhu, he met Prabhupada once or twice in his life. But all his life, he's reading his book so nicely and understanding them so properly that through instructions, he has all blessings of Prabhupada and the results are in front of us. Brahma, the prime spiritual master of everyone, is the living example of this process of receiving transcendental knowledge. One has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source, accept it as a reality, and prosecute the direction of the hesitation. So, without any hesitation. So, effectively, it is offense number 5. What is it? To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. So, Brahma did not perform that offense. That is why he got benefited. He had full conviction that what instruction he has received is perfect, and he executed that without any hesitation. Now, there are a lot of, there is an unlimited world available out there, paranormal world of people where they try to create some mantras or they try to create some activities which they promise as they will benefit you, right? And that is where Prabhupada very clearly calls out that mundane sound coming from unauthorized person, it doesn't have any power, it doesn't have any potency, it doesn't benefit. But whether it is through qualification, basically it could be coming from our previous life, or by just fortunate chance, it is possible that it is if we receive the transcendental sound, that is the Mahamantra, from a bona fide spiritual master, then the liberation is guaranteed. What Prabhupada is promising us is the liberation is guaranteed. So we all are very fortunate because we received the transcendental sound and we received it from a bona fide spiritual master. So our success is guaranteed. What remains to be seen is the execution side of it, which is completely in our hand. Following the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the only duty and the secret of success. So it is interesting. Lord Brahma got the instruction tapa tapa just twice. He didn't hear an hour-long class convincing him of something. And he performed that tapasya for 2.1 million years. Look at the level, right? And Srila Prabhupada, he received the instructions to go to the West and provide this knowledge in English. And we know how difficult it was. So, following the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the only duty and the secret of success. Lord Brahma and or Srila Prabhupada, these are the good examples of following the instructions properly and getting benefited. And it is obvious that their life was completely successful. So, controlling mind and senses, this shloka talks about Brahma controlled his mind and senses. And so, if Prabhupada covers that in the purport that controlling is not just holding back, it is about engaging the mind and senses to the service of the Lord. And the Lord's order descends in the disciple succession through bona fide master. And if you execute that instruction, you have engaged your mind and senses. Shloka 299. The personality of Godhead, being thus very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all kinds of miseries and fear of illusory existence. When I read the purports, it's really how Prabhupada brings the whole color out of it. It may, if I read it on my own, it's like, yeah, one more, I know, let's move forward. When Prabhupada covers it in the purport, it really becomes a three-dimensional reality. So bhakti leads to Vaikuntha or Swalokam. So bhakti is the only way. If you go by jnana or karma or yoga, you can't reach Vaikuntha Loka. Prabhupada calls it very clearly. And the troubles accepted in executing bhakti yoga, they provide you the happiness right from the start. Right? So effectively it is feasting, dancing, chanting. So although they, for the external world, they look like penances, they are giving us happiness right from the start. It's not like you sit 1,000 years in a snow cave and then you will get something. It's not like that. But Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, Prabhupada says it is like beating the husk without grains. There is no profit. Why there is no profit? Because in that path there is no destination as such as Vaikuntha Loka. Bhakti Yoga is like sitting on the lotus sprouted out of abdomen of Transcendental Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada makes it clear that Brahmaji was sitting on that lotus flower, and following Bhakti Yoga is equal to that. It is not different because Bhakti Yoga is coming straight from the Lord, and Brahma, for following his process, he pleased Lord, and Lord also pleased him by giving the darshan, and we are also in the same process. By following Bhakti Yoga properly, we please the Lord, and Lord also gives us the pleasure. Srila Jiva Goswami, from Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad, he says that transcendental abode of Lord is situated above the highest planet, that is Brahmaloka. So Prabhupada in his purport gives references from, and some of them are from the Vedas and Upanishads and all that. He covers what we are kind of now taking it as, okay, we know about it, so what? But there are lots of references even in the Vedas that cover that Vaikuntha Loka is above Brahmaloka. And Brahmaloka is the highest in the material world, we all know that. And there is a further description of that in the next few slides. So once you know about yourself, you can know about God. We have heard that. And that is covered in this word, Swa Drashtava Vihi. The personality of the Godhead and the personalities of devotees are transcendental. Prabhupada says, do not have material bodies. And the reason they don't have material bodies is because 5 kinds of miserable material conditions are absent. In Vaikuntha Loka, when the Vaikuntha Vasis are there, they are lacking the ignorance, material conception of life, attachment, hatred, and absorption. These 5 things are present in the material world. They are absent in the Vaikuntha Loka. So Prabhupada is calling out that Lord and his devotees both are transcendental in the Vaikuntha Loka. The impersonal conception of oneself is just the negation of material personality. So what happens is the Mayavadis, they talk about absence of matter as if that is the truth. And what Prabhupada calls it, that is just negation of matter. And in Brahma Samhita, Brahma very clearly calls out that Chintamani Prakara Lakshmi Govindavadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Brahma Samhita very nicely and clearly describes the Vaikuntha Loka, and that is our fortune that through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu we received the Brahma Samhita 5th chapter, through which we can get the insight of Vaikuntha Loka, which is otherwise very difficult to achieve. So Bhagavad Gita also talks about Krishna Loka is Param Dhamam. So basically it is beyond material conceptions. What Prabhupada is stressing again and again is Vaikuntha Loka is not just another planet. Because when we try to teach device class, we see people confused about, so what is the difference, whether I worship Sai Baba or Ganpati or Krishna, what is so different about it? The difference is you go to a Dhamma, which is permanent in its nature, and we're going to talk more about it. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. Nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. So Prabhupada gives here references from Padma Purana, Uttarakanda. Within Padma Purana, there is Uttarakanda, and then there is a Sankhya, Kaumudi, Agama Purana. So multiple Puranas, Upanishads, Prabhupada is giving the references to Vaikuntha. And here Prabhupada calls out what we cover in device class again and again, which is this material existence is 1/4 and the spiritual world is 3/4, and that there are slokas that refer to that. And the Vaikuntha Loka is the unalloyed goodness. It is at people are at a Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma level. It means they are all the miseries are absent. The life is everlasting over there, and the influence of time is conspicuous by its absence. Why it is absence? Because in the material world, how time is present, that we'll see. What is material world? Basically billions of universes. Each universe has billions of stars and planets, and it may look gigantic, although it is only 1/4 of the total existence. And it is more like a correction facility. The three gunas are present over here, they are absent in the spiritual world, right? The Sato Guna, Tamoguna, Rajoguna. Hankering and lamentation, that's present in the material world, again it is absent in the spiritual world. Illusory energy. Illusory energy is present over here, she is driving the whole force here. And in the spiritual world, it is internal energy. The creation and annihilation is present in the material world, in the spiritual world it is absent. The actions and reactions are also present over here, they are absent in the spiritual world. And because the actions and reactions are absent in the spiritual world, that is why there is no need for past, present, and future. The reason we have past, present, and future in the material world is because there are actions and reactions. You did this, so now I will do that, and that continues. Its time is conspicuous by its absence. And there is competition for leadership. In the material world, there is always competition for leadership. If you look at how whole corporate life is, it is all about competition for leadership. If you look at how countries are fighting, it is all competition for leadership. If you look at in society how people are organized, it is all competition for leadership. If you look at how combined families in India, how they struggle for influence within, or even in our own family life, there is competition for leadership. And that is absent in the spiritual world. All living entities over there, they completely agree that Lord is supreme, He is at the center of everything, and hence there is nothing to compete about. It is all about glorifying the Lord, accepting Him as the center of the life, and they live life happily. And by Prabhupada's mercy, it is possible for us to live the same life here. We have the opportunity. We just have to follow it to that level. And Prabhupada calls out that Viraja river, which separates the material and the spiritual world, what is it? And that was a new point for me. It is the current flowing from the perspiration of the body of the Lord. So that is the Viraja river. God's creations are always innumerable. God doesn't like to create onesie twosies, right? But Mayavadis, who cannot even count the hair on their head, they try to think that they're God. Okay. So Prabhupada says, even if man reaches on the moon, cannot stay there. Even man reaches on the moon, cannot stay there. And I just yesterday came across an article that says about the research that they have performed that human bodies are not cut for space. What happens is all the astronauts who come back after spending a few days in above the earth, then they have n kinds of medical issues that they have to face rest of their life. For example, all the fluids which are supposed to be holding the body in certain way, they expand into the brain and the eyes and everything, and life is really miserable for astronauts. So there is a very detailed article. I have hyperlink in this PowerPoint for those who care. Prabhupada says better to study about the existence through Srimad Bhagavatam, because that is pleasing, that is good for your spiritual progress, and it tells you the real thing. Whereas if you try to study on your own, people create the spacecrafts and then they try to reach the end of the universe, and all of that is just creating lots of wasted time, wasted energy, and misery. Illusory energy, here Prabhupada very nicely covers the point. Illusory energy is not false, right? When you say Mayavadis believe all of this is just illusory, right? No, illusory energy is not false. Like a person may take a rope to be snake, but That is the person may get confused about this is a snake or this is a rope. Prabhupada said the rope is also a fact and the snake is also a fact. Likewise, some less intelligent animals roaming in the desert may think there is some water and they may get into that illusion. But the animal is also a fact and the water is also a fact and the desert is also a fact. Likewise, this material creation is a fact. It is not unreal. It is real. It's just that it is temporary. And uh, it can be illusion to Mayavadis basically. Mayavadis may think that, oh, it is just illusion. No, it is not illusion. It's just that you are perceiving it as an illusion. It is real, and the external and internal energy of the Lord are also factual. The external energy drives the material world, the internal energy drives the spiritual world, and all of these are facts. Prabhupada very clearly calls out. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers. Their dress is of yellowish color and their bodily features are very attractive. They are just the age of growing youths. They all have four hands. They are all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces with ornamental medallions and they all appear to be effulgent. Very interesting. The residents of Vaikunthas are described, and effectively it is Swarupya. There are five types of liberations. One of them is to be like, look like Lord, and that is what it is calling here. So 2912. Some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion and have garlands on their heads, blooming like lotus flowers, and some wearing earrings. So that is the Sarupya, possessing bodily features those like Lord. The Vaikuntha planets, 2930, the Vaikuntha planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions, and all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning. So the gentlemen are bluish in color, and the ladies are as beautiful like lightning. So it is like cloud and lightning. So Prabhupada also covers that not just the residents of Vaikuntha are transcendental in their nature because they are in a spiritual body, but it's also the airplanes. They need not be driven manually and needed to be guided where to go and all that. And because there are men, women, and airplanes, Prabhupada said it is logical to conclude there are cities and houses. And all of these are transcendental, they are everlasting, and they are Satchidananda. They are full of bliss and knowledge and eternity. Hard to imagine the whole scenario, but it is so interesting. 2914. The goddess of fortune, in her transcendental form, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of Lord's activities. So, effectively, as it says, there is not too many details in the purport. 2915. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of entire devotee community, the Lord of the goodness of fortune, goddess of fortune. The My wife was first one to correct. You can try, but she'll be first. So the Lord of the all sacrifices and Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, and Arhana, his immediate associates. So Supreme Personality of Godhead is always surrounded by immediate associates. And what are all the associates doing? They are serving the Lord permanently. 2916. The personality of the Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had four hands, and his chest was marked with the lines of goddess of fortune. So there are various scriptures like Padma Purana or Uttarakanda. There is a full description of the Yoga Pitha, or the particular place where Lord and his audience are present. And they cover in so many details all the Vedas, all the different types of energies, how everyone is present over there, even the Jaya Vijayas and their friends or immediate associates. So in different types, different places in Shastras, there is even more description of who are the eternal associates of the Lord, who are around him and they are always serving him. 2917. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by the different energies like the 4, 16, 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord enjoying his own abode. Anyone can guess here what is 4, 16, 5? So the Lord is naturally endowed with 6 opulences. So that is where the 6 opulences are, the beauty, renunciation, all of it. And then the material creative energies are what? Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and ego. So that is where it is covered as 4. And the 16 are the 5 elements of the material existence: the earth, water, air, fire, and then the five perceptive sense organs like eye, ear, nose. And then the sense of, yeah, the working senses are like hands and legs and the related indriyas. And then the mind, that calculates to be the 16. What are the 5 sense objects? Form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. So they were all personally present effectively, right? And then very nicely, this shloka calls out that, and there will some insignificant opulences. What are those insignificant opulences? All these Gyanis and Karmis are trying to get to this Ashta Siddhis, the yogis especially. They're trying to get to these Ashta Siddhis, and they spend hundreds of years trying to achieve that. And they are covered in this shloka as insignificant opulences. And why they're insignificant? Because one, the devotees don't care about it. Two, the Lord doesn't care about it. But the yogis are trying to become Lord in this material world by achieving those which are insignificant. I'll go back to the shloka again. Look at the last line. Sorry. Yeah. Along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. That's how Ashtasiddhis, which are the prime destination of all yogis, is covered as. Now, Prabhupada very nicely calls here that Lord has all these opulences without any effort. It just happens to be that he has all of it. And to gain very little bit out of that, Jiva has to go through so many penances, through yoga system or so many places, even to get a little opulence of that kind. Okay. So the living entity by severe penance and performance of bodily exercises can temporarily, again, even if you achieve some siddhi, it is in this life. Next life, it's again A, B, C, D, starts all over again. You can be like a PhD or the Facebook founder with lots of money. Next life, you again start from ABCD. You start by changing your own diapers. It all starts again. No matter what you have achieved in this life, it is completely useless in next life, uh, except for the spiritual progress. So the Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful than the yogi. So here, Prabhupada very nicely calls out that all these opulences, Lord has unlimited of all that. He is the source of all of these. And human beings are so limited, and we have so limited of Lord's opulences. And we strive so much all our life to achieve little more of that. And still, people think that they're God. I mean, the Mayavadis, they still want to believe that I am God when there is not even a comparison of how limited we are and how unlimited God is. And this is the last look of the day. 2918. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of the Godhead in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart. And thus, in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love, he thus bowed down before the Lord. That is the way for the highest perfection of the living being. Many times, in our corporate life, when we give performance awards, or when there is a beauty contest and then somebody gets a prize out of that, one of the so-called beauties will get a prize, or lifetime awards for cinema world, or there are different social awards for social work. Those people go through emotions and then they shed some tears and the emotions get choked up. Even in my office when we give performance award, I have seen people choking up. It's like nirvana. Now imagine Lord Brahma meditating for 2.1 million years just on the instruction of tapa, tapa. He just heard those words and then he received the mantra internally and then he meditated on that mantra, controlling his mind and senses for 2.1 million years. At the end, he gets the direct darshan of Vaikuntha and Lord himself. How ecstatic would that be? And how insignificant are the other awards we can get in life? So just a comparison, because Lord Brahma is the supremost in this material world, he is the foremost, and he is by his own example showing us that whatever you see in this world at an insignificant level, there is some perfection available out there. And that perfection is, if you follow Bhakti Yoga properly, then we have the perfect award waiting for us, which is the darshan of the Lord himself and the entrance to Vaikuntha also. So Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for persons completely free from malais. That is why it is not so much leveraged by or read by the Mayavadis, the Gyanis, the Yogis. They don't get into Srimad Bhagavatam a lot. Why? It is because it is meant only for people free from malais. Because even if you try to do yoga or jnana, there is a purpose in it, and the purpose is I want to know everything, or I want to have these siddhis, or I want this power, or I want these abilities. So it's still I. Bhakti yoga is the only place where we are completely saying, okay, we will do what Krishna wants, and because it is all centered around Krishna, the malais is absent, and that is why you get the highest destination. And what Prabhupada calls out here is reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day, even in our normal family life, is not at all different than Brahma doing the penances for 2.1 million years. Imagine, I mean, the effort and the results, if you look at it, this is such a good deal. Just in our family life, if we do Srimad Bhagavatam button every day, that is as good as doing what Brahma did. And in his own words, Lord Brahma said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of empirical philosophical speculation. It means trying to figure out things on their own. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of empirical philosophical speculation aimed at merging in the existence of the Supreme and engages himself in hearing your glories and activities from a bona fide sadhu or saint, and who lives an honest life in the occupational engagement of his social life, can conquer your sympathy and mercy even though you are ajita or unconquerable. Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th chapter, 3rd verse. That is the path of the Paramahamsas, which are personally followed by the Lord Brahma and later recommended by him for attaining the perfection. So, if you look at it, Prabhupada very nicely calls out that all kinds of opulences are with the Lord, all kinds of powers are with the Lord, all kinds of personalities, the elements that we talk about are also serving the Lord. All Vedas are serving the Lord. And so Lord is unlimited, we are so limited. And the yogis and the gyanis are trying to conquer a little bit of that too on a temporary basis. So the underlying principle is Bhakti Yoga is the way. Bhakti Yoga is the easiest. Lord Brahma, by receiving the initiation and executing the penances under bona fide guidance, is leading by example that that is the right way to do. And we have the same facility available because we have taken the initiation and we are executing the penances. By doing that properly and perfectly, we have the same results waiting for us in terms of perfection of human life. And what is that perfection of human life? We can become the Paramhamsas. How we can become the Paramhamsas? What happens in case of Paramhamsas is the Lord, instead of giving one little opulence here and one little opulence there, Lord gives himself. You can win. The Lord who is Ajita, not conquerable, is conquered by the love of the devotees. So effectively, through Bhakti Yoga, you can conquer the Lord Himself, and He has everything. So trying to ask for 1C, 2C thing is not really very intelligent. So Prabhupada recommends that go for the final destination, go for the love of God, and that is possible through Bhakti Yoga. And Lord Brahma, in his own prayers to Krishna, is very clearly calling out that one can be in the family life. There is no need to renounce the family life and go to the mountains and stay for 1,000 years and all that. You can be in your occupational engagement and be sincere, be honest, and read Srimad Bhagavatam, and you can become the Paramhamsa because you can get the mercy of the Lord. So that concludes the shlokas that I wanted to cover. We can open up the forum for any questions.
Brahmaji, it said that Brahmaji heard the sound tapa from the water at first. Then it said that he heard the vibration from the sky.
Right. So he was in the causal ocean, and we all can try to answer the question. But when he did the penances for millions of years, then he heard the voice, transcendental voice from the sky. First he heard the tapa tapa, that was also coming externally. Then he received the mantra, which was within his heart. And then he heard the vibrations, the transcendental vibrations, which is the Vedas. Did I? Please.
Maybe it's correct, but I have to go back and refer again.
Okay.
I don't know exact sequence. I just wanted to share, like you said, tapa most of the time when Brahma is doing tapa. So there is another example of tapa also. My understanding, like Rishabdev talking to his son to doing tapa. So in current world, in Kali Yuga, which are the tapa we have to execute as a normal person? I understand from the Brahma perspective, we have done tapa 2.1 million of years. But from today acharyas and our current acharyas, what is our tapa?
So Paramanand Prabhu's question is, what is the tapa for us? Because Brahma did what he did, which was 2.1 millions of meditation. So tapa for us is what we promised to do on the day of the initiation. It was following the regulative principles and serving in the mood of being the servant of the servant of the servant, and doing the 16 rounds on the beats every day.
What are the four regulative principles? Means what is the tapa for a general perspective, for a general public perspective? What are the four? No meat eating, no gambling, no sex, no intoxication. So by following that, we can come in the lineup.
That, yeah, those four regulatives keep us out of trouble, right? But then by doing the 16 rounds, we purify our heart, so that the route for going back to those four, breaking of those regulative principles is broken. And then by serving in the mood of the devotees or the servants of the servants, we receive the love of God, we receive the mercy of God through the parampara.
Chanting. That's a good point. Yeah. And also by following the Ekadasis, and by
that's also part of
by
the
observing, by observing fastings on the auspicious days, like appearance and disappearance of the Lord, and appearance days of the Lord, and also appearance and disappearance days of Acharyas. So those all come under the. So for a current person who is interested in to know the Lord, to become a devotee of the Lord, so for tapa, following this Ekadashi and following the instructions.
But to put it another way, for the common folk, the starting point could be they can start chanting, and then these things probably also follow. Not the other way, like you start following the principles and then come to chant. Chanting is supposed to.
Well, what we cover in the US class is ABCD, right? Where the A is the association, and the association is please keep coming to temple. Because no matter where else you start, either by reading the books or by hearing the classes or by chanting, or you will stop that unless you are in association of devotees. But if you are in association of devotees, you will be slowly, gently pulled into all of that. So for new people, we just say come to the temple.
In last ending paragraph, you said like about we should all become Paramhansa. So what is context of Paramhansa becoming?
The context of Paramhamsas is the Gyanis and Yogis can conquer little bit of opulences of the Lord. But the Paramhamsas are people who have no malice in their heart. Their heart is clean and they're doing Bhakti Yoga. So they end up winning the Lord himself. So become Paramhamsa means win the love of Lord God. If you have love of God in your heart, you are Paramhamsa.
So means we are trying to become servant of the Lord.
Yeah, becoming the servant of 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 the devotees
So
is becoming Paramhamsa. Because then Lord becomes happy with us. And when he becomes happy, he just offers himself. He's Ajita, but he offers himself to us, and that status is only available for Paramhamsas.
Because one of the Prabhupada lecture I heard means in today's Kali Yuga, the Paramahansa word is taken in different interpretations, like from Mayavadi perspective, Jnani perspective, from Yogi perspective, mystic power. But from the Bhakti Yoga perspective, Prabhupada says we have to just become a servant of a servant, of a devotee of a Krishna. So that's the point I wanted to bring. That's good.
Very nice. Any other questions, comments?
Lord Brahma is very highly qualified. Is that qualification making him like go through the trouble of 2.1 million
years?
Yeah.
Like he lives billions of years. That is, so his scales are different in all contexts. But ultimately, he lives, for his perspective, he is living for 100 years. We are also living 100 years. And even the little creature that lives for maybe 1 day or 2 days, the relativity is same. The Brahma feels his 100 years, just like we feel our 100 years, is the same way the mosquito feels his 7 days of life.
So Lord is equal even to this level. Like we are insignificant.
We are
And even
insignificant
Brahma is
compared to
insignificant.
Brahma because he's the supreme most in the material world. So he's doing things at his scale. We do things at our scale. So, but the good news is we have the same facility available, which is to become the Paramhamsa or enter Vaikuntha at the end of this life, or even during this life. There are people who can connect to Krishna. Questions?
No, that was the same thing. Brazil Prabhu had the same question I had. Brahma lives for probably trillion years or billion years. The 2.1 million years is nothing actually compared to the how much time he actually.
But that is with respect to our calculation.
Correct. So when we say this 2.1 million years, we always say, look how Brahma did. That's actually not the point here.
So
The
from
point
this-
is, it's probably a fraction of a second of his life. He did that, but he got the point pretty quick.
No. So
That's
with
what it is.
respect to him, how many years actually he
Like
lived
billion
in
years in
the-
Brahma's life.
No,
That
that
is
is
1,000 also.
In his scale, if he is living 100 years,
yes.
what is the period he is doing?
He can do the calculation. Right? Brahma's life,
So
how many million years he did tapa. If you do the math, it will come to really very, very fractional.
Yeah.
My understanding of that is, Brahma, the moment he had, he didn't spend any other thing. For him, it took only that long to realize. Right? But for us, it takes even in our material scale, we're not in the fraction. We still spend a lot of time to
But if I remember correctly, Radhakrishna Prabhu in his class, he actually mentioned that he does the tapa for a few years actually. It's not for a fraction of a second.
In his life
In
scale.
his lifetime, in his life scale.
But that is a number is given here.
Yeah, no, it says 1,000 also. One of the slides.
1,000 years
Yeah,
by
1,000 years.
1,000 years on
by
our
celestial
Yes,
calculations.
celestial
Yeah.
The demigod calculations, not by Brahma's
And
calculations.
There are so many.
So the point behind these numbers about how the numbers are scaled differently to Swargaloka, to Brahmaloka is it's also gives us the level of insignificance we have. How insignificant we are compared to Indra. And Indra is so insignificant compared to Brahma. And Brahma is so insignificant compared to Lord. And that Lord is personally present in front of us.
And the
So it
best-
should build some gratitude, some emotions about it, especially when we feel, I am the greatest. That is where it should help, that scale of how small I am.
And it also states like what the best advantage we have being in this world, being in Kali Yuga, the fraction of seconds and it's a short life, but we can follow the Bhakti Yoga quickly, the same benedictions or benefits we can have following Vaishnava acharyas. We don't have to go many celestial years of tapasya, even they are at the demigod of Brahmaloka. Even we are in Kali Yuga, but we can still follow the Vaishnava Srila Prabhupada's instructions properly, then we can have the same benefits of Bhakti Yoga.
Right, excellent. Are there any new points or we want to move to the
One
shlokas?
question I had. In one of the slides, you said that in the material world we have anxiety, and then there is no anxiety in the spiritual. Of course, the definition Vaikuntha itself says
No anxiety.
no vibes, no Kunta is anxiety, no anxiety. But when we look at the pastimes of Gopas, right, Gopakumaras, or in the spiritual world, so they have anxiety for the Krishna. Like say they knew that okay they are being attacked by the demons, and then they want to protect, and then so there is anxiety still. Now,
Yeah.
how do you relate that anxiety
With our anxiety.
Yeah, with our anxiety in the
So
material?
our anxiety comes from everything being temporary, right? This body is temporary, everything connected with that is temporary. And so that temporariness brings that anxiety of, oh, will I have my job tomorrow? Will I have my family tomorrow? So that anxiety is about my own happiness. In spiritual world, that anxiety is about serving Krishna. And the anxiety in the spiritual world increases the rasa. It increases the happiness that they relish. So it is just another type of rasa that they enjoy. It is not the type of anxiety that we experience. Obviously, the anxiety is present here, this anxiety is present over there also. But just like the time destroys everything over here, and over there, time is conspicuous by its absence and it enhances the pleasure. So it's different.
And even if the devotees are undergoing that anxieties in the material world for the purpose of serving Krishna, then those are not material anxieties.
Those are not material anxieties.
Though the devotees are in the material world and serving Krishna and they feel anxiety, then that anxieties are not material in nature. So they are considered to be spiritual in nature. That's what.
Yeah, true. I mean, talking about book distribution, in Prabhupada's era, people were really on the war front and they would go and take all kinds of adventures to do the book distribution. And the best example is Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj doing it in Russia, doing like phenomenal book distribution. He was just unparalleled in terms of how he was doing it. And finally, when Prabhupada really became pleased with him, Prabhupada said, Krishna is the doer. So we'll have only questions, no comments. Right? So initially, when we receive success in service, it is more about when we see the initial success, we start feeling that I am the doer, right? And then we get into the anxiety of now I want to do more and different, and so we get into this. I am going to make this happen. But as we keep serving for long enough and go through enough experience, we get to the realization that it is happening by Krishna's mercy. I am just the instrument. When you get to the point that I am only the instrument, Krishna, what do you want? And then really become the instrument of Krishna. And that is where Krishna really, then the flute has to be empty for Krishna to play, right? So if you become the empty instrument, only Krishna can play his flute through us, then there is no real anxiety even for the results, because Krishna, what do you want? I will distribute one book or a million books. Either way, we are okay. In the device class, the Prabhuji, the master class gives the example of a bank cashier. He will calculate count $1 or $1,000,000. He is equipoised. There is no anxiety. Oh, I'm counting $1,000,000 today. No, it all belongs to bank. I'll do my part. Someday he will not count anything, and that is okay too.
Srila Prabhupada gave that example of being a bank person accountant. He's counting so many $1,000. He's not going to take it with him. He's going to give it to the bank. One question I had, like you talk about Mayavadis in your purport, like so Mayavadis we talk about. So are they are following Lord or they are not following Lord in proper?
They are thinking they are Lord themselves. That is the first misconception. So we started the first sloka with two conceptions about I and mine, or the Jiva and the Paramatma. And the Jiva thinks I am the body. And then the second is misconception about Paramatma. To think Paramatma and Jivatma to be at the same level is another misconception. Bhakti Yoga removes both. But because Mayavadis don't follow Bhakti Yoga, they are in that misconception of they are the Lord. The Jiva and Paramatma are at the same level.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.